Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 292. So this is in wake of episode 291, where I did another solo show. This is also a solo show and is basically a follow-up to 291 and all the questions I got. Now, firstly, I just need to say absolutely from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Like, the show went mental. I spent 3 hours alone answering my Instagram messages. I still haven't been through all of my personal Facebook messages. Like, I probably had about 2 days worth of messages off the back of that podcast. It was incredible. So thank you very much for the support, the love. The episode trended as number one for nearly the whole week as the number one health podcast in the world. Wow. So yeah, thank you. It got to like number 50 out of all the podcast episodes and podcasts in the world as well. So that's mind blowing. Think of all the podcasts in the world, all the amazing people that put out great content. I just want to say thank you. But you know, with a podcast that was that honest, was that raw, you know, a lot of people had further questions. They wanted to know more. And actually, after I'd done the podcast, which was it was really freeing for me. It was quite liberating. One of the comments I got a lot was people said to me, "Oh, Ben, I never would have known that was happening to you. Like, you never showed it. You never talked about it. You never, moaned about anything." And this happened over a long period of time. Like, the struggle, and I'll be honest, the struggle is still not over. Like, things are still quite difficult, if I'm honest, and I'll explain some other stuff in a minute. But, when you're going through something that is going to take a long time to come around, I could have been quite a bore for a long period of time. Like, imagine if I was on the podcast, just kept like moaning about things and just not being the positive influence I want to be. I wouldn't have been a nice person to be around. Think about yourself or other people, what they're like when they're going through tough times. Yes, we are there to support other people. We're there to listen. But, let's be honest, if it gets a bit too much, we all get a bit bored of people moaning. And I'm not going to be that guy that is moaning. I also got a lot of messages from people that are closer to me that listened to the podcast and said, Ben, if you need me, reach out to me and ask for help, which is amazing. Thank you. And also people were saying, you could have talked to me, you could have done this. And this is a bit of a key point for me, in that the more I talk about stuff, the more I share stories, the more I just look for other people's opinions and to offload what I'm going through, the less work I get done. And throughout the last year, the work that I was doing was really important. Like, the hours I had to invest in myself and my business and my coaching and everything that I'm doing was really valuable. So the more time that I spend chatting to people, sharing stories, the less time I've got to actually fucking do it. So think what you're like as a person. Like, how much do you talk about things to other people? How much, if you think about a situation or something that you plan to do, how many people do you tell about it? Like, I've got so many goals for 2018 and I've hardly told anyone about them, because I'm not going to make a habit of going around to my 10, 15, 20 closest people and saying, I'm going to do this in 2018, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to get busy and do it. People that want to know and they ask, or it comes up in conversation, cool, I'm going to tell people about it. But the more talk I do, the less action. And we see this all on social media, online all the time, where people talk so flipping much and get so little done. And I think that's one of the things that got me through, is that I saved every available moment to talk less and do more. And, I think if we could all potentially do that, then, would we all get more done as individuals? I think so. I'm going to continue doing the same in 2018. I know I've opened up conversations around this, and, we've talked about kind of, business and, being self-employed, that kind of stuff on this podcast briefly before, but it's not the premise of the show. The show is primarily a health, nutrition, optimal health and performance podcast. And I don't really want to go loads into, business and stuff, but I do want to go into personal development. And, there's a huge amount of coaches and self-employed people and business owners that listen to this podcast. So actually, business is an important topic. Business makes the world go round. Like, business is a lot of my life. Like, I run a company, I have to think about it every day, and loads of people that got in touch with me, they do the same. They run a company, they have to think about it every day. They have to think about how they're working to get their money. Like, they're not on a salary, through a company. So, business is something I'm really passionate about, and that's why I do coach other people in business. It's not something I advertise hugely, but in December I had 3 different people come to my house. They spent half a day with me. We went through their business. We planned loads of cool stuff, and all 3 of these people are doing great things already. They're super motivated, and it's something that I actually want to do more of in the future. So if you do want to come spend half a day with me, then get in touch. We'll hook it up. And it might sound a little bit hypocritical for me, hypocritical, the word, of me to sit here and say, I'm going through all this kind of a business trouble. How can you coach other people? Well, a lot of the people that I'm coaching, I've been through that stage in my life. So I'm not helping people through something that I haven't been through myself, or I'm currently going through, and I'm adding perspective and not kind of like definitive black and white answers. So I've been a personal trainer, I've owned a gym, I've set up a small business, I've run an education program, I've run a supplement company, I've had to look after myself, then I've had to look after other people. And I made the decision 2 years ago to grow a bigger company, to go from a small to a medium-sized business. And it's a totally different business game. Like, when I think about me being a coach in a gym, I might have had outgoings of like £400 to £700 a month, gym rent, bit of software, bit of kit, that kind of stuff. And then I started to build an education program, and maybe we had £1,000, £2,000 going out. And then I had my first member of staff, and maybe we had like £3 or £4 grand going out a month. And now I'm in a position where our monthly outgoings as a business are anywhere between £45,000 and £80,000 a month. So, I mean, that's a huge amount of money. Like, that's $500,000 going out the bank before, just with daily operations. So I've been through so many journeys already with business. I've added so many layers to the complexity of the operation that I run, and if anything, I try every day to streamline it and simplify. And it's probably one of the lessons that I've learned throughout the last year, is that simple is best. Like, the most simplest solution that could potentially be managed externally is quite often the most valuable. Now, what I want to do is I want to address directly some of the questions that I got, and a big sort of, well, actually no, firstly I want to say that I did feel that I focused a lot on my pain throughout the previous podcast 291, and I don't want that to detract at any point from the pain that actually my staff and other people felt in that time as well. I don't want me to sound like some unique victim in this situation. Like, other people were affected, like my staff were affected. My staff's pain actually created the momentum to create all these solutions and make me realize a lot of stuff that was going wrong. So, many other people in my team have been caused pain, and I want to acknowledge that. I don't want me to come across as being selfish and that my pain is the only important thing here, because it wasn't. And actually, throughout this process, last January, so January 2017, it was actually the first time in my adult life that I can remember, the first time that I cried. And my fiance, Lizzie, she often sort of says to me, like, why don't you cry? Like, she's female, who, females quite often cry more than a guy. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of guys that cry a lot, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just how we're built and how we're wired and how we show emotion. But, my fiance often says, like, you don't cry much. You don't show emotion as strongly as other people. And January 2017 was actually the first time I'd cried in my adult life, because I felt I'd let so many people down. And it was the first time in my life where I felt that I might fail. And that was such an overwhelming emotion to know that I'd both let loads of people down, that I'd potentially, have caused loads of people to lose their jobs, and that I might have failed in the mission that I was then on, to grow a bigger company, to create and change more lives with the products that we sell and the things that we provide for other people. And it was quite a turning point, and showed me how much all of this meant to me, and showed me how much I needed to turn it around, and how much I had to get stuck in. And that was one of the big questions that I got from a lot of people, is like, in the face of all the pain, with all the shit going on, how did you stay positive? How did you stay motivated? And that's obviously a great question. Now, I've got into all of this with the sole aim of helping other people, saying, hey, I had a life-changing journey. I want you to have a life-changing journey. And I think I've written some books and I've created some products that can help you along the way, just like the books and the products that I used to help myself on my journey. And there's been many of them. I'm an absolutely relentless learner, and I think you should be too, and that's probably why you're listening to this podcast. But for me, that fear of failure kept me going. That fear of saying, oh, if I stop now and we close the company and people lose their jobs and I stop doing what I'm doing, that is going to be the biggest pain that I will have ever felt in my life. To know that everything that I created didn't work out. And that is the energy that kept me going, along with the vision. My vision has never changed. It's just that I created the wrong environment around my vision to keep going with the utmost positive momentum. I'd made some decisions that had taken the vision into the wrong direction and caused us to get into the mess that we were in. So my vision was still there. I just made some bad choices, and other people will make bad choices in their personal, professional, business career. But we need to stand back, put on a fucking big boy pants, which I had to do. I had to, buckle up and say, right, well, now what's the plan? What is the short-term plan where we're basically stopping ourselves from going under? What's the medium-term plan that is going to build the infrastructure to turn us around? And what's the long-term plan that's going to create the long-term infrastructure to be a profitable company that can keep helping and impacting other people and provide for my livelihood and the livelihood of the people around me? And, it's a combination of all of those that kept me going. And don't get me wrong, I lied awake many, many nights thinking, how am I going to do this? What's going to go wrong? But I have to wake up in the morning, I have to put on my big boy pants and say, right, what are we doing today? Am I being effective? What do we need to do? Is there short-term action that I need to focus on? Do I have to ignore some things that I know need to be done, but other things are really important right now? And that's when I did have to be quite selfish with my time, because, things were quite critical in some areas. And don't get me wrong, it was really tough at times, because I had to run the business, I had to create more cash flow, I had to coach the people that I was coaching, I had to look after our student. There was lots to do, and it was fucking hard work. I'm not gonna shy away from that. But it's what I had to do. I could just give up. I could just go home, set up shop, go down the road and, do personal training again that I did, or, just pick up my personal coaching and close everything else down. But that wasn't the vision. My vision has always been to create an incredible, massive, life-changing brand around my name that changes lives, that empowers people. And that is my vision for 2018. I will now compare myself to loads of people that I think are doing incredible things in the fitness industry. People like Joe Wicks, people like Jamie Oliver, people like Xana Van Dyke, people that are, doing incredible things, changing lives, got books out, I'm doing that stuff in 2018. No word of a lie, I am doing that stuff. So all of this is wrapped up in a couple of comments that I made on a previous podcast where I talked about extreme ownership. Now, I have to take extreme ownership of every one of my actions. I brought the people into the business that created the problems, or some of the problems, that caused our business to go sour. I okayed the infrastructure ultimately that got created. I okayed some of the spend that happened. Like, all these things in one way or another did get run past me. So I have to accept that I wasn't doing enough due diligence with where my business was going. And part of the problem is one of the people that I brought into the business was very close to me, and was a close friend. So it actually made it harder because there wasn't a really concrete business relationship. So hard conversations were often a little bit difficult, and as people we naturally sometimes avoid those conversations. Don't get me wrong, I was prepared to at the right time have a tough conversation, but probably not often enough. And that is a learning point from me, that I have to accept that I need to create an environment with every team member that I have that we can have honest and open conversations, just like I would with a client or a spouse of mine. So once I accept that I have extreme ownership and I can control the variables, I can take full responsibility of my past, which allows me to have full control of my future. If I don't accept full responsibility of the past and own it, I can only feel uncertain about the future, because otherwise I haven't actually learned anything. If you don't take full ownership, you don't learn from things. And I've learned. I've changed, I've evolved, I've become empowered, I've become knowledgeable. This shit will not get me again because I can see it coming. I know the telltale signs. And that is why ownership is really important, because otherwise we enter into the future in a place of unknown, which creates a greater level of fear. And I do not want any fear in my brain, in my body, in my bones. It has to go. So I accept full responsibility. As ugly and as nasty and as disgusting as it may look and feel, I own every action that I took and I created. And that's how the platform that I've created for 2018 is going to be incredible. It's how I've learned and I'm going to take myself forward. So I think that's really, really important. Coming in podcast 291, I also talked about various things that were still potentially holding things back. And, I'm sitting here right now talking about my vision. And my vision is the one thing that I'm holding on for, because there was a lot of things that actually happened to me in December, which were actually quite painful. And I actually didn't really take much time off over Christmas. I only took 3 days because I couldn't relax. I wasn't prepared to relax. So in mid-December, my computer broke, which means I lost all of my work for 2 weeks, and could only work via a mobile phone, which was immensely frustrating. I also got issued with a personal tax bill from 2015 for a very significant amount of money. And I'm still sat here now thinking, if I have to pay that, and obviously I'm trying to defend not having to pay such an old tax bill, sitting here right now, I still don't know how I'm going to pay for it. But I'm a very resourceful character. I will find a way to do things. I will create a payment plan. I will, grow something and create something that will allow me to do what is needed. And this is what some people will often not understand within my character, is that I will do what I need to do. I will create what I need to create to get the outcome that I want. Like, I've had conversations with Lizzie many a times, and she's like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to get out of that problem? I'm like, you just got to trust me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create that. And she's like, oh, but what if? And I'm like, I don't think in terms of what if. I think in terms of, like, this is what I think can happen. This is my vision. This is what I need to do to create it. Let's get on and create it. The more we sit here and talk, the less time I have to do. And that was one of the questions. Rachel Martin, thank you for sending your question, by the way, Rachel. She said, Ben, I'd like to know what you learned about being resourceful. How did you make the £20,000 in 20 days that you spoke about, or pay your employees that month? What did you learn about the resources that you had? What did you learn about how to be resourceful and how resourceful you really could be? So basically, first off, coming from a place of scarcity, like someone saying, by the way, you owe 20 grand into your business or your employees won't get paid that month. That forces you to work hard. That forces you to be resourceful. And what I had to do is stand back and say, okay, well, what are we not doing? Like, we've a company that has a lot of incredible products. I've written loads of books, for example. I've created loads of different things. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we selling that we can't sell? Like, what are we not advertising enough? And, I created some more unique kind of marketing campaigns around my products. I started to talk about things in a different way. I started to fill in gaps where I didn't, I thought we weren't operating at our fullest. And again, it showed me how resourceful we could be, but there was a limit to my resourcefulness just through time. So some months I had to dig really deep and had to put the time into being resourceful. And then when that helped and got us kind of out of a hole, I then had to go back into like future proofing and working on other stuff and projects, because I couldn't just spend the whole time being resourceful and pushing things forward. Now, what I've spent a lot of the back end of 2017 doing is creating the space and time to ultimately be as resourceful as I need to be. So I, as a business owner sitting here, need to grow my business. I need to create a wider appeal of what I'm doing, a greater understanding of what I do and how I can help people. So I need more time to be creative with my marketing, to do better podcasts, to be creative on video, like all those things that promote and support my message. I need more time to do that. So I think the being resourceful in 2017 showed me that I need more of that time in my business, because that's what makes the business grow. The particular month where I owed £20,000 back into the business through some accountancy areas, basically my accountant came to me and said, "Oh, you owe 20 grand by the end of the month. What are you going to do?" That was the month where we needed the most money. Like 20 grand is a lot of money. And that was when in April and May 2017, I went on the road and I went on tour. And that was probably one of the hardest parts of 2017, was running the business and going on tour, traveling all over the UK and Ireland, delivering seminars, speaking, doing the good work that I do, but also doing everything of the day-to-day as well. And I went on tour, and that enabled me to get the money and keep supporting the business for that month. So, and that's the thing. Like, there's always a way. It's like I say to personal trainers and coaches and business owners, like, you're not working within your capacity right now. If someone came and knocked on the door and said your business needs 10 grand within the next 6 weeks, like, what are you going to do? I would bet you would mobilize every bead of sweat you have to creating something that you want. It's like fat loss. It's like performance. It's like anything. It's like being an athlete. It's like if someone put that much pressure on you that you needed to do something to get a particular outcome, I bet your last dollar that you would do the action that you needed to do. And I think that's what I want a lot of this podcast to create, is to raise the question, if you could do just a little bit more, if you could just push yourself a little bit harder mentally and physically, what could you create? So think about that. Think about how resourceful we could be as human beings, or are right now as human beings. How resourceful could you be if you really put your mind to it? And 2017 showed me. And now I'm working hard to create the space to be that resourceful 24/7, rather than being bogged down in some of the day-to-day of my business, which I want to get away from, because I am most effective when I have the space to do what I need to do. So I've got a load more questions here that people written in. Let me just go through them. Sean Morgan said, nobody online talks about the trials and tribulations of business. So it was refreshing to hear the part one. Glad you got through the year. I'd like to know if you think or have seen a connection to the online attacks having a negative impact on your business and thus contributing to your cash flow crisis. Often these idiots doing the trolling don't realise that it can possibly affect people's livelihoods. In short, Sean, yes, very much so. And I didn't really want to give that answer because I don't want to give any power or satisfaction to the people that decided to attack me online. But yes, direct competitors of ours decided that attacks on our business would be the way to gain traction or awareness of their product. And it worked. We saw a decline in our business, and it did have a significant effect on our business. And, I remember having a conversation with one of the people that has been continually attacking our business, and I said to this person, I said, okay, I get why you're doing this. I get that it's business related, and this character admitted to me that it was business. He was using it as a tactic to grow his own business, and I said, just be aware that it's not just me you're attacking. It's my family and my home. It's my staff. It's their livelihood. Like, it's not just me. Like, I'm not that bothered if I don't earn much money this month. I can take it. But I can't turn around to one of my staff and say, oh, by the way, I can't pay you this month, because they're relying on me to pay their way. Like, I'm their employer. Like, they trust me to provide that. And, throughout pretty much the whole of this year, my average income has been about £2,000 a month, because I've had to live on as little as possible, and I'd like to have lived on even less, but unfortunately I have a mortgage and certain outgoings that I can't just take away. But that is the reality. Like, if people are attacking a business and they're actively trying to take money away from you, from discrediting you, then it is gonna make things suffer. And we did suffer significantly, and it was hard. But I'm not gonna give power to these people. I'm gonna spend time reacting. I'm gonna spend time being resourceful. I'm gonna spend time saying, right, this is the state of the situation. This is the state of play, and this is what I'm gonna do to get myself out of this situation. Like, I don't get anywhere by going online and arguing with these people. It's not going to get me anywhere. It's just going to waste my time. It's going to keep me up at night. Fuck them. It's literally it. Like, I can't do anything about it. They're doing it from a spiteful business proposition. That's their tactic. Fine. I'm going to spend time doing good things, being better at my job, and trying to grow my business in a ethically minded way. Anyway, Rob says, rant over. Rob Birkenhead, how do you plan to protect yourself from the same thing happening again to your business and the effect it had on your personal life? Great question, Rob. I think the main way I'm going to protect myself is having taken full ownership and creating all the systems and solutions. So I take a bit more time now in my week planning. And I actually use this as a criticism for a lot of people, is that we don't plan enough for the outcome. So and this is for health, performance, business, whatever. I spend more time now planning, looking at my whiteboards, thinking of new ideas, planning my time, thinking ahead. Like, I'm already nearly 5 months planned into my schedule for 2018 of the seminars I'm going to do and all sorts. So I'm planning more. I'm creating the fail safes. I'm checking my accounts every week to say, right, are we on target? Where are we at? What do we need to do more of? Is our paid marketing working? Like, I'm just planning more and having to take the extra time in my business to do that because it's really important. I'm saying no to all the non-essential stuff. So sometimes I'll get emails through from my website and I'm like, I'd love to help this person, but this is just not a good time. I don't have the time for this, and I have to focus on the bigger priorities. So brutal prioritization is a very key thing, and obviously time management. So I think hopefully you've maybe seen and listened to how I'm going to stop this from happening. Ultimately, I trust in my business, I trust in myself, and I trust in the products and the service that we provide other people to help those in their quest for betterment. And in that trust, I know that if I go out and I promote and I sell and I fight the good fight, then my business will grow and I will become a greater positive influence on the fitness industry. So a few other questions. Sonia asked, what advice would I give to myself if I could go back? Now, the key bit of advice here is taking more time when assessing the variables of growth and new staff. So one thing that I did when I was looking to grow the business and I brought a certain individual on board into my business, I came from a place of reactive scarcity and fear. Part fear of like, oh my God, do I know how to grow the business in this way? And the fear of not having enough time to do what I needed to do. And because of that, I made too many quick decisions of getting that person into the business rather than really doing the due diligence of who I actually needed in the business. Like what individual do I need and what character traits and skills do they have? And then going out and finding the person to fit the business's need rather than finding a person that kind of fit the business need and then fit the business around them. That's not how it should work. We fit the role around the business need. The business has to dictate what kind of person you bring into the business. So I made too many quick decisions. Like I didn't put staff through enough tests and paces, and I left the hire of some key people up to someone else, and well, not fully up to someone else, but there's a big responsibility there in their role to do all the due diligence around our new hires. And now I go through a very stringent hiring process and I really test people because I really want the right person in my business. I want people to feel passionate about what we're doing. And you know, every work opportunity I've done, I've actually been tested in a meaningful way. Like it hasn't just been handed to me on a plate. I've been tested. I remember actually going for a personal training job at David Lloyd, and I went through 3 rounds of interviewing, including a full day interview before I got the job. And I was like, that's a really good way to go about it. I was actually a bit annoyed at the time. I was like, God, this is really hard. Like they're really testing me here, but they wanted the right person in the job. And why shouldn't they? This person might, in theory, be in their job for like 10 years. They want the right person. So if I could go back, it's taking more time over growth-based decisions. If you want to grow as a person or as a business, what are you going to do? Is the tool that you're currently considering the right kind of tool to grow? And if you're not 100% hand on heart, confident that it's the right tool, the right decision, then don't do it. Don't just do it because you need that person, you need that thing, you need that software. There's been so many occasions over the last 18 months where we've used a piece of software in our business because we had a need for it and didn't do enough due diligence over whether that was the right piece of software. And 3-4 months later, we're changing software again. And it's a colossal waste on time and resources and effort, and it's just a ball ache. So if I could go back, it's doing more due diligence over what your business needs and why, and really getting the right people or the right tool to do the job. So there's just 2 more questions, and I promise I'll wrap it up because I know I'm waffling, but hopefully I'm waffling with some value. So someone asked, and I didn't write down their name, so apologies. How did I still exercise and missed it all? So obviously I play rugby, which means I just turn up on a Tuesday and Thursday night, and I play on a Saturday. So that was part of my exercise regime that I didn't have to think about. I just turned up, I got told what to do, and I got a good sweat on. Quite often I go to the gym before rugby training. So we start rugby training at 7:30 in the evening, and I'll go to the gym at 6:30, do an hour of weight training, and then go out onto the paddock and train. And there would be nights where I'd walk into the gym at 6:30 p.m. and just could not muster the mental strength to train. And I just had to accept that I wasn't in the best place to progress myself physically. I needed to keep working on myself mentally. So I made the commitment to myself to train with intensity where I could at least twice a week. So I took the pressure off myself because I just felt I couldn't make progress. So, I mean, there's so many windows of time in 2017 where I didn't train much at all. I didn't train for nearly most of November. I only trained a bit in December. When I was on the road a lot in April and May, I didn't train that much. I wasn't overly bothered because I had to focus on other things. Now, don't get me wrong, training's a massive part of my life. I also want to look good and feel good naked, but the important thing is I was happy if I didn't regress. So if I maintained my body weight, I looked half decent, I was happy with that. And it's actually very easy to maintain the look of a body if you've already created it. So I look half decent with my shirt off. It only takes me really 2 sessions a week with working with decent intensity to maintain that look, as long as I don't put on body fat. So I think it was just about cutting myself a little bit of slack. There was nothing wrong with not training hard. There's many people that I know that are, fit, happy and healthy that don't go to the gym, that don't do much exercise. If I think about some of my family, they just walk as their exercise and they're fine, they're happy and healthy. So the gym doesn't have to fit part of a lifestyle. It's part of my lifestyle and it's part of many of your lifestyles listening. But, I just had to do what I needed to do and know that the alternative is okay just as much as what I'm currently doing is also okay. There's no right and wrong here. The last question was Alison. She said, what is planned for the future, apart from what you mentioned, also with Awesome Supplements? So Awesome Supplements, we've just launched our new powdered pre-workout. We done away with those beetroot-based shots, which we think is a really positive move for us. So really the pre-workout powder, the formula that we've just created, is basically just focused on the gym goer, the person that is pushing themselves in the gym for strength, conditioning, hypertrophy. So that way we took out the nitrate-based ingredient, which means we were able to get rid of the beetroot component, which made it cheaper for people to now buy, because we don't have to use a real food product, which is beetroot. It gives it a longer shelf life, and it also tastes way, way better, because a lot of people didn't like the beetrooty sort of sourness. So now the pre-workout is sour pineapple, and it's focused around, if you go to the gym, these are the ingredients you need to boost physical performance, and that's it. And we're really proud of that. We think it's a really effective product. Feel free to go to awesomesupplements.co.uk now and check it out. I mentioned the books that we're going to be talking about. Fat Loss for Life, I am turning into a book. So my nutrition blueprint, which I wrote 2 years ago, I'm now writing kind of a second edition and expanded into a book that will be called Fat Loss for Life. I'm going to write How to Be an Awesome Personal Trainer Part 2, and the third book I shall keep as a little surprise, because I don't want to reveal all my cards. That is just mad. Otherwise, we've just finished doing great things with the BTN Academy. We've got some very exciting news coming up, which I am not allowed to talk about at the moment. Otherwise, I will be getting on the road as much as possible. I've got seminars happening in 2018 all over the place, and they will be posted on my website as soon as my seminar calendar for the first 6 months is sorted. But I will be at all the major events. I'll also be doing a little bit of stuff locally. There's a new gym opening in Ipswich called FTC. I will be running the nutrition system in there. There will also be putting an awesome supplement smoothie bar in there. So if anyone does own a gym and they want an awesome supplement smoothie bar in their gym, they can have one. It's basically free. We've done all the work. We've done all the menus and the posters and loads of cool stuff. You just have to buy a few bits of basic kit and you're away. You can chuck it in the gym. Otherwise, my mission is to just keep doing what I'm doing and doing incredible things. And all I hope that you've learned from the last 2 episodes of this podcast is a little bit of perspective, a little bit of empowerment, a little bit of encouragement, to know that someone else that you maybe look up to for a little bit of advice and guidance also goes through the same crap that everyone else does. Like, I'm just human. It's like people meet me at events and they're like, "Oh, Ben, like you're such a nice humble guy. Like I expected you to," and I was like, I just always say, I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude trying to do some good things, trying to help some people, trying to make people think. I'm never going to stand here and say I'm the oracle or I'm the best nutritionist or I'm the best whatever. I'm just like, hey, I've been through some stuff. I've learned some things. I think I've got an interesting way to add context to a lot of the things that we're trying to do with our health, fitness and personal development. And I think I could potentially help. So here's a book or here's a video or here's a course or whatever. Anyway, that's me. I'm done. If you feel that, again, after this episode, you want to reach out and say something, you want to say hello, then do that. That's amazing. If any of you are ever unsure of what I do and maybe how my work could help you, then log on to bencoomber.com. I've got videos that I've recorded. I've got books that I've written. I do half days where people can come and see me for a day. If you'd like to sit and chew my brains, on Skype for an hour, then there's that option on my website as well. Like, if you want to get loads of credible research-based information on supplements, go to awesomesupplements.co.uk. I'm really proud of what we're doing there. If you want to learn more about nutrition, you want some free resources, you want some help, go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk, our education company. There's just so much free stuff that I've done. Of course, there's some books and other stuff that's going to cost you money. But if you want help, I think I can help, and I just hope this podcast has done that. So thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for getting the last episode up to the #1 trending health podcast episode in the world. That is incredible. If you'd like to try and help me do the same with this podcast episode, then I would high five you right now. In fact, let's do it. Boom. So yeah, if you could do me the honor of sharing this, just send it to someone, tag someone in it, say, hey, listen to this podcast, I think this guy's doing some cool shit, then that'd be amazing. If I could look on iTunes tomorrow and see that we're trending at #1 again, that would be incredible. And perhaps then Joe Rogan will ring me up to get on his show. Right, you awesome people. That's me out. I'm going to be interviewing Neil Martin next week, a guy that has lost an insurmountable amount of weight, and asking him and probing him about his journey and what he's learned losing that much weight to date. Anyway, that's it. Thank you again, and I will speak to you next week. In the meantime, stay awesome. Goodbye. Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 290.